Daniel, thanks for joining us to review the round 10 game in Darwin against Port Adelaide. The boys now have a couple of days off to refresh.
Yeah, look, we just got back Sunday from Darwin. Interstate trips are always a bit tiring, so there's still plenty of guys floating around here getting physio and doing extra weights, and when you're in a routine this time of year, it's hard to break it. So, yeah, but it is nice to have a little bit of a sleep in.
And coming into the bye this weekend, is it a good time for the bye, do you reckon, for the boys, or would you rather have it earlier or later?
No, I think our buys are pretty well positioned this year. You know, you start to get a little bit tired midway through the season, and that's where we are now. And to get a little week's refresher, and then only have 7 more games before the next one, I think it'll work out really well for us. I know other clubs, I think the Gold Coast, for example, have actually already had both their buys, which seems to me a bit unfortunate for them because you don't really need to rest within the first dozen rounds.
Disappointing result in Darwin, obviously. What do you put it down to? What were the messages after the game?
Yeah, look, we just weren't up to it on the night. We didn't handle the conditions as well as they did. They've played up there before, so we're going to have to adapt to that. It's just a learning curve. We did say this year we're going to have ups and downs and probably win games that people didn't expect us to win and lose some that people did expect us to win. It was certainly very disappointing, probably more disappointing than any other game we've had in the last few years because the expectations for the outside and from us internally are a lot higher. But look, credit to Port Adelaide, they came out hard and they did a better job on the night.
Did you think playing in Darwin instead of Melbourne had any bearing on the result?
Oh, look, like I said, we hadn't done it before, so it's going to take us a little bit to get used to. I think in the future we'll be fine up there. It's just like playing any game interstate. Sometimes teams handle it better than others. You know, you can play in Brisbane sometimes you can beat them on their night, and other times they're up and about. Well, this time it was Port Adelaide who was up and about, not us. So, you know, we'll go there again next year and hopefully we'll come away with the win.
What was Damien's message straight after the game to the boys?
Oh, probably similar as I said before. He was just very disappointed. You know, he has expectations for this year as we do, and it was a game that we should have won, and we won't shy away from that. Going on form, we are the better team, but saying that, they've beaten us, I think it's 13 of the last 17 times, so they seem to be a bit of our bogey side at the moment. But, you know, look, we'll bounce back, week off, and then we've got another few trips interstate. We're a good interstate side. We tend to play well interstate, albeit bar the weekend. But, look, we'll be looking forward to it.
Oh, look, I don't think so. You can't use where we play as an excuse for a poor effort, I would have thought. Like, you know, at the day we played a footy ground that's got 4 sticks at either end and, you know, the ball's round, so nothing much changes.
You'll be happy to have the bye next week, chance to recoup?
No, we're still playing next week, to be perfectly honest. We've got to stew on this loss for 2 weeks. So, we'll give the guys a couple of days off, then we'll hit the training track pretty hard.
Well, despite the loss, there were a few positives to come out of the game. Bashir Hooley played probably the best game for the Tigers so far.
Yeah, I don't know if he's been given enough credit for his performances this year. He's been a consistent contributor. The most touches again on the weekend. I think he's had a few 30-plus games, and since moving him to half-back, not only has he given us flair offensively, but he's actually done a job defensively as well. So he's been a massive recruit. As with Sean Grigg, he started the year really well. He's just been a consistent contributor.
And another step forward for Nathan Foley with 34 touches and about 10 tackles.
Yeah, the Schwal's been up and about lately. His body's finally cooperating with him, and like we said at the start of the year, getting him back this year is like having another draft pick, and he's starting to show that bit of zip that we've been lacking the last 18 months without him. I think it's nearly been that long, and he was drafted back in 2003 with me, and he's had to work against the odds to get himself into where he is now, but he's one of the star players of the comp, so it's great to have him out there.
And Jake King kicked another 2 goals on the weekend. That makes it 30 goals in his last 15 games. That's pretty impressive.
That is impressive. I didn't know that. Probably what's more impressive is that he hasn't had too many suspensions in that last 15 games either. Not that I can really talk, it's probably a bit hypocritical. But look, he's been fantastic this year. Because he's kicking goals, yes, but more so because of the pressure that he puts on and the leadership that he provides down in that young forward line. So, great season for him.
And with the bye, is there anything specific that the boys will work on this week, next week, going into the Sydney game?
Oh, look, initially this week's going to be about rest and recovery. You know, this game's getting harder and harder every year. This new sub rule makes things even more tiring out there. So it's recuperation first, and then when we start next week, we'll be straight back out on the track, working hard. Try and work on a few of the deficiencies from the weekend. But I think most of that just comes down to being clean when you're around the footy and making sure you're applying pressure. You know, Sydney like a contested game, and we're probably built to match up to them in that regard. So it should be a good match.
What happens on the weekend off, mate? Do you head away somewhere or just chill out in town?
I think I'll probably duck out of town. Like I said, when you stay in Melbourne, you're just a creature of habit. You can't escape from this place. So I might duck down to Sorrento and just lounge around.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, mate.